We've written together about 130 books. The first book that we've written for Usborne is the first adventure of Luke Challenger, which is called Return to the Lost World. And we're also working on a series which is called Action Dogs.
How do I start writing a new book? Talking, actually. I don't do any writing whatsoever. Steve and I sit down and talk. We think about ideas and then we talk them through. And we talk and we talk and we talk until we've got some sort of idea that we can then put down on paper. And then we still talk about it. We talk to editors, we talk to our publishers, we talk to our agent. There's a lot of talking involved in writing. In fact, I think to be a good writer, you've got to be a good talker. Right, how does writing together work? How do we do it? We've got a good partnership going on. We always planned our stories, and we tend to plan our stories now from the end, because the story's a little bit like a journey, and if you know you're going to get to that end of the journey, then you'll get there, instead of getting bored with it and writing that terrible ending, and then I woke up and it was all a dream.
The great thing about there being two of us is that if I'm stuck with something, then Steve can usually find a way around it, or vice versa.
Writing together is quite interesting because one person might have an idea, the other person has an idea. You put them together and you create the third idea that neither of us would have thought individually.
If I can be a writer, then yes, anybody can be a writer. It takes a bit of application, but what it mostly takes is patience and trying things out.
Everybody is a writer, especially at school. We all write at school. We write our stories, we write our reports, we write our essays. I think the difference between being a writer and a published writer, that's a little bit harder. People say, you know, you can do something, you can reach for the stars, anybody can reach for the stars, but to get to the stars, you've got to have something mechanical to get you there. So the more that you know about writing and the way that writing works, then the better equipped you are, like any job, to be a writer. Young writers today, what should young writers know about? Well, they've got to talk a lot, they've got to read a lot, because to be a good writer, you've got to be a good reader. And also, never give up.
My advice to young writers today would be to use your own personal experience. Personal experience is the most valuable tool you have in your armoury. And if you start with that, you can then take your personal experience to the furthest reaches of the universe if you want to, but start with something you know about and care about.
One thing that does lie behind Steve and my writing is the fact that we want to engage and enthuse young people, because we want to create the best stories to make them want to read. And I know a lot of people say that kids don't read anymore. They do read, and they love reading. They read lots of different things. They read computer screens, they read magazines, they read books. But it's all reading, and I think that that is very important.
It helps me to write, to imagine people reading my books and enjoying them. I learned to read with Enid Blyton and Biggles, and those are the ones I remember. And because there wasn't a great deal else around at the time, I used to read them over and over and over again. I think these days kids have a much wider choice of books to go for, and just about anything that they want to read, they will find it on the shelves if they look hard enough. I think we really are living in a sort of golden age of books for kids.
So I was a great fan of Sherlock Holmes, and that's why it was great to be able to write Return to the Lost World, because of course the creator of Sherlock Holmes, Conan Doyle, he wrote The Lost World, on which we've based our new series.
How would I describe our books? Return to the Lost World is very much high adventure. What we wanted to do basically was see whether we could write a Hollywood blockbuster and get the same kind of feelings that you get from watching a blockbuster in the movie, from reading a book.
Our books have been described as funny, brilliant, mad. We try anything to get people reading. And I think Return to the Lost World is a real page turner. And everything that we've learned before with our writing about trying to want to get kids to turn that page, we've managed to sort of bring together with a little bit of Jurassic Park, a little bit of James Bond, a little bit of Indiana Jones, a little bit of spy stuff, to create a real page turner with Return to the Lost World. The best things about being a writer is, there's quite a few actually. I think one of the nicest things is, we had this the other week when a mum came up to us and said, "You've created books that have changed my son's life, because he was a non-reader before and you made him want to read." And that was a real,
I think one of the best things about being a writer is that you are your own boss. And the school visits themselves, being in the classroom, being with the kids, are great. But also sometimes just sort of getting there, just travelling around, just being in different places you probably wouldn't have been to if you weren't a writer and weren't doing this kind of job. Do I think that writing can be taught? I did teach writing for a while, but I'm not entirely sure that I knew what I was doing. Certain things can be taught, techniques can be taught. You can sort of pick a story apart and look at all of its components in the same way that you can sort of take a car apart and look at all the bits of the engine. But when it comes right down to it, writing has to be the business of the individual. You've got to be able to find your own voice. And the only way you're going to do that is by trying things out, practicing, just not being afraid to do something different.
I think that the technicalities of writing can be taught, how to structure a story, how to build up tension. But I think that the heart and soul of a story is very much an individual's. I think the people who are best at writing are natural storytellers. They can tell story, because obviously at the heart of a book is a story. And I don't think that you can teach storytelling. You can teach writing, but storytelling is a little bit different.
I think in many ways Steve and I complement each other. I'm more likely to sort of go off on wild flights of fancy, and Steve's more likely to say, no, hang on a minute, let's just rein that one in a bit. So maybe he's a bit more down to earth.
We are two parts of a circle sometimes. In terms of going off on one, in terms with Steve and his creativity, I think when we're doing live shows, he's the one who reins me in, actually. We've got some very, very exciting projects coming up. We're just starting work on the second book in the Luke Challenger series. That's going to be, we think, called Return to Atlantis. And then we've got a brand new series coming out next year called Action Dogs, which are the secret lives of some dogs who are in a city dog pound. But underneath this city dog pound is their secret cave, where they become the action dogs designed to save the world from problems, catastrophes, and pussycats.
We're also doing a lot of work on the iPhone. And the iPod Touch, because we think this is a fantastic new revolutionary way of reading. And in fact, that's one of the main prizes, if you like, for the Usborne Young Writers competition that's forthcoming, that what we're offering is that the successful winners, the ones who actually claim the prizes, will have their stories made into an app. An application which will be available worldwide via the iTunes store to be read on the iPhone or the iPod Touch.
Very excited to be involved in the Usborne Young Writers Award. We've given a very exciting starter, few paragraphs, and we're very much looking forward to seeing what the kids come up with.
Yeah, so the Young Writers Award, we've written an opening paragraph which basically is about setting the character on a journey. Now, what that journey is up to the writers who are going to take over our work and take it further. But it's one of the main ways in which you can get a character out of their comfort zone. There's not really a great deal of potential in a story about a character sort of just going through their day-to-day life, which is the same as yesterday and the day before. What you need is to get your character involved in some kind of extraordinary circumstances, and one of the ways of doing that is to send them on a journey. So that's what our opening paragraph does.